Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Thank you so much, Ravira Prabhu. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya. Ashtar Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya. Ashtar Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hardas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Praisubhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 22, Text 32. 32? Tavat Sutalam Adhyastam Viśvakarmā Vinirmitam Yad Adayo Vyadyas Cha Kalams Tandra Parabhavaha Nopasarga Vinivesatam Sambhavante Mamekshaya Tavad Sutalam Adhyastam Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Yad adayo vyadyascha Kalam standra parabhavaha Nopasarga vinasta nivisatam Sambhavanti mamekshaya Tavat sutalam adhyastam Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Yad adayo vyadyascha Klamastandra parabhavaha Nopasarga nivasatam Sambhavanti mamekshaya Tavat sutalam adhyastam Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Yad adayo vyadyascha Klamastandra parabhavaha Nopasarga nivasatam Sambhavanti mamekshaya Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Yad adayo vyadyascha Klamastandra parabhavaha Nopasarga nivisatam Sambhavanti mamekshaya Tavat sutalam adhyastam Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Yad adayo vyadyascha Klamastandra parabhavaha Nopasarga nivisatam Tavat sutalam adhyastam Sambhavanti mamekshaya. You want to try? Yeah. Tavat sutalam adhyastam Sambhavanti mamekshaya. Mataji? Tavat sutalam adhyastam Viśvakarmā nivirtam Yad adayo vyadyascha Thank you for trying, Anna. Anyone online would like to chant?
Tavat Sutala Madhyastam Viśvakarmā vinirmitam Chadadayo Vyadayascha Klamastandra Parabhavaha
Klamastandra Prabhavaha
Nopasarga Nivasatam
Nopasarga Nivasatam
Sambhavanti Mamekshaya.
Synonyms. Tavat, as long as you are not in the post of Lord Indra. Sutalam, in the planet known as Sutala. Adyastam, go live there and occupy the place. Viśvakarmā vinirmitam, which is specially created by Viśvakarmā. Yat, wherein. Adyaha, miseries pertaining to the mind. Vyadaha, miseries pertaining to the bodies. Cha, also. Klamaha, fatigue. Tandra, dizziness or laziness. Parabhavaha, becoming defeated. Na, not. Upasargaha, symptoms of other disturbances. Nivashatam, of those who live there. Sambhavanti, become possible. Mama, of me. Ikshaya, of the special vigilance, by the special vigilance. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Until Bali Mahārāja achieves the position of King of Heaven, he shall live on the planet Sutala, which was made by Viśvakarmā according to my order. Because it is specially protected by me, it is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali Mahārāja, you may now go there. You may now go live there peacefully. Purport. Viśvakarmā is the engineer or architect for the palatial buildings in the heavenly planets. Therefore, since he was engaged to construct the residential quarters of Bali Mahārāja, the buildings and palaces on the planet Sutala must at least equal those on the heavenly planets. A further advantage of this place designed by Bali Mahārāja was that he would not be disturbed by any outward calamity. Moreover, he would not be disturbed by mental or bodily miseries. These are all extraordinary features of the planet Sutala, where Bali Mahārāja would live. In the Vedic literatures, we find descriptions of many different planets, where there are many, many palaces, hundreds and thousands of times better than those of which we have experienced on this planet Earth. When we speak of palaces, this naturally includes the idea of great cities and towns. Unfortunately, when modern scientists try to explore other planets, they see nothing but rocks and sand. Of course, they may go there on their frivolous excursions, but the students of the Vedic literature will never believe them or give them any credit for exploring other planets. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Viśvakarmā Shah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sita Devi Pranamami Hare Priya. Vancha kalpatribhischa kripasinabhya cha patithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So my dear friend Sankarshan Das Brahmachari, the other day he was chastising me and he was correcting me. And he was telling me that the best way of learning is by hearing. And so that fools like me learn by bitter experience. So I am a fool and a rascal, and with my limited understanding, I'll try to say something beneficial. So when Sankarshan was chastising me, it reminded me of this quote from Chanakya Pandit. He says that a Brahmana, he learns or he sees through the Shastras. And a king sees through his spies. A cow sees through its nose, and that an ordinary person sees through his eyes. So the devotees will have a different understanding, a different vision of the world, and it's according to scriptures. Yayutama prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as we surrender to Krishna, he rewards accordingly. So we see here that Vamanadeva, he's rewarding and reciprocating with Bali Mahārāja's surrender. Bali Mahārāja is the personification of Atma Nivedanam, complete surrender. And to the degree or quality of our surrender, Krishna will, you can say, return the favor. In other words, you get what you pay for. And a wonderful example of this is Srila Prabhupada. He surrendered his health, he surrendered his comfort in Vrindavan, he surrendered his life to execute the order of his spiritual master. And what he would say is an impossible mission. Now many of us, sometimes we are asked to do something and we don't want to do it. But surrender means to accept difficulties for Krishna and also the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, he had doubts whether he would succeed or not in the West. Imagine this elderly gentleman coming to the West, telling the people, give up meat eating, give up illicit sex, give up intoxication. How will they listen to this gentleman? So Srila Prabhupada, the last few days we were discussing his poem on the Jaladuta. And he said that the people in this country, they are absorbed in materialistic happiness, and they consider themselves to be very happy. So Srila Prabhupada, nonetheless, he took this order from his spiritual master very seriously, and he prepared for it. Some devotees say that he began preparing before he got here. He was translating Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So sometimes surrender means accepting difficulties for the benefit of others. There's a saying in the Hare Krishna circle that Krishna doesn't see what you give, but he sees what you hold back. My spiritual master, His Holiness Bhadrinarayan Swami Maharaj, he talks about this incident. When he first started coming to the Laguna Beach temple, he would put the coins on one side of his pocket, and on the other side, dollar bills, paper bills. So, and sometimes, when the ghee lamp would come around, there's a platter or a tray, and this is where the guests or devotees would give a contribution or a donation. So Maharaj, he would give his coins, and he would keep the dollar bills or the bills, paper bills. And then there was this one very smart and observant little devotee kid, and he realized this. So this is when he told me, Krishna doesn't see what you give, but he sees what you hold back. And he knew that Maharaj had bigger bills in his right pocket or in the other pocket. So in the Bhagavad Gita, and then from that day on, he would give. See, devotees, we're always trying to look for a loophole. Srila Prabhupada explains that there's a cow, a farmer, and this cow, it has a bell on its neck. And the farmer would know that it's working by the sound of this bell. So there was this logician that comes to the farm, and he asked the farmer, "How do you know if this cow is not just sitting down and just ringing his bell?" You know. So Srila Prabhupada explains that a cow, it doesn't do that. It does what it's supposed to do. Whereas human beings, we misuse this intelligence to try to cheat. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives his last instruction to Arjuna. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. That you surrender everything. Forget all these different dharmas that I taught you, all these different misconceptions, and just surrender unto Krishna. He will protect us from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And sometimes as devotees, we are placed in situations that are detrimental to our Krishna consciousness. That means sometimes we quit our jobs, sometimes we detach from family, sometimes it means leaving our so-called friends, their association. And that's actually one of the 6 aspects of surrender. Pratikul yasya varjanam. Rejecting or giving up anything that is unfavorable or hinders devotional service. And as devotees, we have to recognize this. If the activities that we're performing is either pleasing or harmful in our Krishna consciousness. A few days ago, there was that young youth group here. And in one of the classes, one of the Prabhus, he was giving these contradicting situations. And I'll say a few of them. And I would like to see what the devotees would, answer. So one of them was, your favorite restaurant just opened up. And you've been waiting and waiting. So finally they opened up and you purchase something from the menu. But you find out it's Kadashi. So what would you do? Would you break Kadashi, or, would you just take this food from the restaurant? What'd you say? Can you get the mic, Chad, please? Raja Mohan Prabhu and I were discussing this, so I wanted to. What would you do, Bhakti Chad?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Well,
Krishna.
I wouldn't break Ekadashi, but I'd probably just give the meal to you. See what you do.
I forgot what he mentioned, if it was a devotee restaurant or. Yeah. Okay, Taco Bell, right.
Go hell.
No, he said Taco Bell, the devotee.
So the second one is that your favorite musician or artist is performing tomorrow, and you have the tickets to the front row. But at the same time, you find out that your Guru Maharaj is coming and is giving a lecture. So what would you do? Yeah. Yeah. But see, that's the thing, most of these kids, I heard one person say, he'll save the meal for tomorrow. So instead of breaking Kadashi, he'll take it the next day. And the concert one, he said, like what he said, Dravida Prabhu, bring him there. And then the third one, he said, you're offered a corporate job and it pays very well. But your first client, he owns a slaughterhouse business. And so you have to help promote this business. So what would you do, Ananda Vrindavan? Okay. What did you say?
I joined the Hare Krishnas.
Join.
Of course, I may be prejudiced since I've been around for 55 years in the movement. So
Nanda Vrindavan, what did you say? Or Dvijamani?
No, I said get another job.
Get another job. But this is like your dream job, you know. And it's like a once-in-a-lifetime offer.
Dreams can be changed.
See, for devotees that are seriously practicing, these are very simple solutions. But a devotee that's not mature, he compromises the standards. And Rajaman Prabhu, he was saying, you know, these are not even fair questions, you know. Devotees, of course, would follow Ekadashi, who would listen to our spiritual Maharaj. We would give up this sinful client. But for the younger devotees, they still have these lingering desires. I think the same group last year, the Mataji, she asked this question. If Krishna came down off the altar and asked for your hand and said, please come with me back to the spiritual world. And she asked, raise your hand if you would go with Krishna. And only like 3 kids raised their hand. Do you remember this, Ravita Prabhu?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. You were there?
I was there.
Yeah, I was. So anyway, and the Mataji asked, please raise your hand, give me some of the reasons why you would not go with Krishna. And I was surprised. One student, he said, my goals in life. He still had goals he wanted to achieve. Another person said, my family. Another person said, my responsibilities. You know. And yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious.
I mean, we had these kids last year, a lot of kids like this last. Who are these kids? Are they generally children of devotees?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, because they've grown up in devotee family, more or less.
Yeah.
But, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's
why I
very,
was
very important to know.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised. And then the Mataji noticed that the brahmacharis, they all raised their hand. Yeah. And then she said, the brahmacharis, they know what's actually important in life, to go back to Godhead. Not our family responsibilities, duties, our goals in life. These are all secondary. So complete surrender means to follow the rules and regulations. So Vamanadeva, he reciprocated by giving this planet Sutala for Bali Mahārāja to live in. And this planet was designed by Viśvakarmā, the architect for the demigods. Viśvakarmā actually plays different roles in the Lord's pastimes. In the Mahabharata, you guys know what Mahabharata means, right? The devotee kitchen Rajbhog. Maha means great, and Bharat means India, named after the great King Bharat. And Srila Prabhupada will explain epic India or greater India. So in the Mahabharata, it talks about this kingdom or the city called Hastinapur. And Hastinapur was actually the capital of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And after the Pandavas were cheated, Vidura, as well as Dronacharya and Bhishmadeva, they told the Dhritarashtra, the blind king, that's actually your best interest to give the kingdom back to the Pandavas. But Dhritarashtra was so attached to his son Duryodhana that he refused to. And then finally he settled with a partition. He gave the Kauravas have the developed side of Hastinapur. And then he gave the Pandavas a portion called the Khandava Prastha. And this city was barren. It was described like forests or jungles, you know. And so Arjuna, after he burned the Khandava forest, there was a demon there. His name is Mayasura. And Mayasura, he pleaded Krishna and Arjuna, please spare my life. So Krishna said, we'll do that under one condition, is that you help build the Pandavas' new kingdom. So this Mayasura, he actually built this assembly hall. And it was full of wonderful illusions and trickery, deceit. One of the famous pastimes is when Duryodhana and Karna, they were entering this illusory hall, and there was this marble, or not marble, but this floor. It looked exactly like, it was very shiny, but it also looked like a pool or like water. So Duryodhana, he stepped in and he fell into the waters, and Draupadi began laughing. And from this day, this is when Duryodhana had a very, you can say, hatred towards the Pandavas as well as Draupadi. So Viśvakarmā, he helped build this new kingdom for the Pandavas. And it's described that it was equal to Indra's abode also. So similarly like Bali Mahārāja. Indraprastha. Yeah. And when the Kauravas saw this, they were actually very envious. They became envious of the Pandavas again, you know. So with the help of Krishna, they were able to construct this wonderful Indraprastha. And this assembly hall built by Mayasura is called Mayasabha, and it was actually used when the Pandavas performed their Rajasuya sacrifice. And we often hear this, and maybe we know it, that our devotional surrender to Krishna depends on our sincerity. And some devotees, they want to fully surrender, but there's one thing that's stopping them. You know, and I'll use a very simple example. Making money. Even at the late stages of one's life, they're still attached to making money. Even when they know that Krishna will take everything, he still nonetheless tries to make money. And Srila Prabhupada has given us a plan or a map of how to live one's life. Towards the late stages, we should start detaching from working, family life. I heard one devotee, he mentioned if one wants to enter grihastha life or householder life, from that day he should make a plan when to renounce or give up family life. And the reason why detaching from this world works is because the less we are anchoring ourselves to the things of this material world, the easier it is to let go and go back to Godhead. Or else how will we think of Krishna at the time of death? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone, once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So the key words are remembering me alone. I love this concept because it really shows our determination to go back to Godhead. Will we think of Krishna at the time of death, or will we think of something else? And we all know the famous example of Bali Mahārāja. He thought of a deer as he was leaving his body, and he received the body of a deer. But he remembered his activities, and then again he took birth in the human species as Jada Bharat. And this may be difficult for us to do, to remember Krishna alone, but Krishna is so kind that there are exceptions. According to the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he loved hearing two narrations. Does anyone know one of them? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Huh? Okay, well, Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. And it's described that he would hear these pastimes dozens of times and manifest symptoms of ecstatic love. And these narratives were especially dear to him for several reasons. One was foundation for pure devotion. These stories provide the essential foundation for higher emotions of love. Dhruva's story represents determination, while Prahlad's story represents faith. And for a devotee to progress spiritually, faith and determination are considered the two most essential ingredients. So, Dhruva Maharaj, I don't want to go into the whole pastime, but his father had two queens, two wives, Suniti and Surichi. Yes.
Suruchi means the hot one. Suniti means the virtuous one.
Exactly. And one day, Dhruva Maharaj, he saw that his brother-in-law, Uttama, he was sitting on his father's lap, and it's natural for the son to want to climb on his father's lap out of affection. But Surichi, filled with jealousy, insulted Dhruva. And he told him to, not only can he not sit on his father's lap, but he has to take birth in her womb to do that. These were her direct words. My dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king, but because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. Some devotees say this was a slap to Dhruva Maharaj. You can't sit on your father's lap. And we all know that Narada Muni instructed Dhruva Maharaj to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suniti was Dhruva Maharaj's mother, and she was actually the guru, or the spiritual master who showed him the way, the Pata Pradaksha Guru. And she was also his Shiksha Guru. And his Diksha Guru was Narada Muni. So the reason why I say this is because sometimes we have affection for a family member. We want them to come back home with us. So read. So this is from the 4th canto, chapter 12, text 33. Dhruva was seated in the transcendental airplane, which was just about to start, when he remembered his poor mother, Suniti. He thought to himself, how shall I go alone to the Vaikuntha planet and leave behind my poor mother? The great associates of Vaikuntha Loka, Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind of Dhruva Maharaj, and thus they showed him that his mother Suniti was going forward in another plane. And described that before he got on this plane, death personified was approaching him. But Dhruva Maharaj was fearless. He actually stepped on the head of death himself and got on the airplane. So, and also in that purport, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a wonderful paragraph. I'll just quickly read it. This incident proves that the Shiksha or Diksha Guru, who has a disciple who strongly executes devotional service, like Dhruva Maharaj, can be carried by the disciple, even though the instructor is not as advanced. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj also delivered his atheistic father, Hiranyakashipu. The conclusion is that a disciple or an offspring who is a very strong devotee can carry with him to Vaikuntha Loka, either his father, mother, or Shiksha or Diksha Guru. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission, propagating Krishna consciousness, to be successful. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading now all over the world, and sometimes I think that even though I am crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then he will be able to carry me with him to Vaikuntha. This is Srila Prabhupada's humility. He's delivering the whole world, but he considers himself to be unqualified or unfit. So as aspiring disciples, this should be one of our inspiration, to be good devotees that you know, we can also bring our spiritual master with us. Okay, it's 8:30. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
I don't think you mentioned this, but maybe I missed it. This Viśvakarmā, the architect of the, he was the one who engineered Dwarka.
Yeah, and Ravana's Lanka.
Also,
also.
Lanka, yeah.
Yeah.
But this describes it in. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole description. But if you're interested, 10th canto, chapter 50, text 50 to 53 describes all the amazing things in Dwarka that he put up.
Yeah.
10:50, 53.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned like Mahabharata, and you mentioned how like Indraprastha, it was constructed in one day by Maya demon. Sometimes when like you tell these stories of Mahabharata to new devotees or someone who is new, they might like question you that, oh, is it myth? When Britishers came to India, they categorized Mahabharata as a mythical, mythical story, not the real story.
Mm-hmm.
How would you convince them that, hey, no, this is not myth?
Okay. Well, first of all, Hastinapur is actually a real city, and it's located in the northeast part of modern Delhi. So that place is there, so you can't call it a myth since that place exists. And also, like Maharaj would say, that the 6 Goswamis, Chaitanya Maharaj, they were real people. And they were only like 500 years ago. And so there's biographies written about them. Their work also is there, But regarding new devotees or guests that, how do you believe this? I'll think about it. What would you say, Ananda Vrindavan? Yeah. Chad, you want to say your wonderful contribution? Yeah.
Well, the Bhagavad Gita is in the Mahabharata. So, anyway. Does that change how you answer the question?
Well, I'd like to hear what the other senior devotees would maybe say. Because a lot of people do think that Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana is all mythology.
Well, I think that for me anyway, and for many devotees, the faith is nourished by those who you see are living by the faith, and who occupy great positions in our parampara. Srila Prabhupada, of course, but you have this whole line: Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Madhvacharya, Lord Chaitanya, and for you to say, well, that's just a myth, means that all these great souls who are historical figures and the character was known, and all these things, they're completely deluded. They're just living in an imaginary world. But I'd rather go with that, with having faith in their statements and judgment, than with all these conditioned souls and outright demons who are trying to convince you that life means grab as much as you can, and enjoy sense gratification.
Maharaj will also say, who are you? Who are you to discount the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam? Dujamani Prabhu, you have something?
Just, I'm wondering, what would you say to a question like this? How can a disciple become more advanced as to take a spiritual master back to Godhead?
His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, if I remember correctly, he was speaking to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada mentioned something, a devotee's advance by his humility, something like that. It's not really by how much he's learning, but how much is he submissive to his spiritual master. This was from the following Srila Prabhupada, or the memories. But it was a while ago, but Bhakti Maharaj quoted Srila Prabhupada, something like that. But another way we can advance is, like I mentioned, surrender. And sometimes we have to do things that we're asked and we don't want to do it. But we have to do it. I was telling Raja Mohan, when I first started coming to the temple, one of the first purification processes is washing pots. Right? And I love, I don't want to go on and on, but Vamanadeva Prabhu, he received the book and he kept reading this word, devotional service. So what does this mean? So I called the temple. I said, why don't you come, we'll show you what devotional service is. And then so he came and he spoke to the temple president and he said, he called another devotee, he said, show him what devotional service is. He took him to the kitchen, and he saw like a stack of pots and says, here, So he understood devotional service means purification, doing things that we don't want to do sometimes. Vamanadeva Prabhu. Yeah. So when I first started coming to the temple, that was exactly it, washing pots, I think there's a famous story of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There was some man, he was, he kept wanting to hear about Ras Leela. And then so I think he took him to maybe someone can narrate this better, to the kitchen, and he wanted him to wash pots. And then this man, he refused to. And then so Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said something like, you cannot enter the pastimes of the Ras Leela without first being purified, or something like that. Is that how it goes? Yeah. But I was telling Raja Mohan, when I first started coming to the temple, I was washing pots, And one day, I saw Janardhan Prabhu, our wonderful Janardhan Das Brahmachari. He was washing pots, and I knew he was a senior devotee. So I said, Janardhan Prabhu, can I help, wash some of the pots? And he said, no. And so this statement that he told me will always stick with me. He said, I need all the purification I need. So, I can get, sorry. So from that day forward, I never saw pots as like a chore or something that, a burden. But washing pots is actually it's a wonderful service. And it's one of those services that Balaram says that produces tangible results, You see a stack of pots, dirty pots, and then at night, it's all clean, And the pujaris, as well as the cooks, they appreciate the service. So all glories to this wonderful service. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. Just a quick question. I don't remember reading that Narada Muni actually initiated Dhruva Maharaj.
Okay. Yeah. You can ask Dravida Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I make a comment?
Well, let me just finish.
Sorry.
The point is that Narada Muni gave him the mantra, he gave him the encouragement, and that consisted of his initiation. It doesn't have to be the formal initiation with fire sacrifice and the deities there and everything. He's in the forest, and so that was his initiation.
Yes, Mataji, you had something to say?
Yes, Prabhu, couple comments about the question about the veracity of the Mahabharata and the scriptures. The way I see it is, if you look at the Mahabharata, all the different places where they have described places. For example, like in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Srila Prabhupada describes exactly where certain temples are or certain holy places are, he's very specific about where it's located and how to get there. Similarly, in the Mahabharata also, from my understanding, there's a lot of description about places, about lineages. So that in itself kind of shows the veracity of that. That can give us some idea. And the other thing is, if you say something enough times, it becomes the truth, right? There are many people who don't believe that the Holocaust happened. We obviously know it did because we're alive when it did happen, or we know of the recent people who have been victims of it, and so they're there to tell us. 50, 100 years down the line, if time goes by and this lie is continue to be said, then that also may happen. People say it never happened and start to believe it. The other comment I wanted to make about Draupadi, she did not laugh, actually. It was Bhishmadeva who laughed. Bhima who laughed. The Mahabharata is one, a lot of times what happens is Mahabharata, depending upon the language, the region, sometimes certain things may be added and some things highlighted. So in the original Mahabharata, from my understanding, it is Draupadi did not laugh. That would be very much against her character. But it was Bhima who laughed, and it was Duryodhana's anger at that whole thing that he wanted to humiliate everybody, and this is the way to get to them, was Draupadi. So I wanted to clarify those points. Thank you very much. Very nice class. And that purport with Bali Mahārāja of Srila Prabhupada, that is one of my favorite purports. It is so powerful. As you says, it shows the character and the humility of Srila Prabhupada. Haribo.
Thank you so much, Panishwari Mataji. Okay. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.